Well, hello, Marilyn Southard. It's so nice to see you. Thank you for doing this for us.
Of course.
Yeah, so I'm Kathleen Davis. I work for the Domestic Abuse Resource Center at Helping Services, and I'm so excited to have Marilyn join us today. Marilyn, I wondered if you could give a little bit of your background for us.
Sure. I've been practicing therapy for a little bit more than 40 years, which is hard to say out loud. 40 years, that's a long time. And I've been in private clinical practice for the last 25 of those years. I came to Decorah after graduate school, knew that I wanted to do individual therapy. And so this practice has kind of been my life's work.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's a long time. It doesn't seem very long, but it is.
Thank you for sharing. What would you say um, kind of gave you an interest or passion for assisting survivors?
Well, I always say that I didn't really choose it, that's domestic violence and trauma issues sort of chose me. Um, when I came to work in Decorah at the mental health center at the time, I was just sort of given a caseload of uh, pretty much middle-aged women, all of whom carried a rather significant mental health diagnosis. And I was sort of given this caseload and said, here you go. Here are people to do therapy with. Go to it. Um, and I thought it was interesting that as I listened to these women, almost every one of them talked to me about a past history of violence. And almost every one of them said, I've never told anyone this before. But, and then they would have their story of childhood or adolescent or adult violent past. And as we talked about this, and as I talked with them about how they managed that, how they coped with that, I sort of started to figure out that the same symptoms that could be labeled as a significant mental illness could also be the products of somebody being very scared, very worried, very sad, um, and very alone in sort of a pit of shame. And interestingly enough, as we talked about it some more, and I started putting those ideas out there with these clients, a lot of those symptoms got better or disappeared. And I learned from a lot of them. I always think I learn the most from clients as from anywhere else. And I learned from a lot of them that just having a chance to talk about it and not be judged, a chance to be heard and to be believed, and a chance to have somebody say, oh my gosh, that was really wrong, seemed like it healed some things in them and was kind of like over the course of a couple of years, these people who had been long-term patients in and out of psychiatric hospitals were really doing rather well and didn't need to be on all these medications. And so then I got to start changing their diagnoses. It was great. So that just kind of led me down the path. This was before, long before trauma-informed therapy was wide known, or trauma-informed treatment of any kind was talked about. And so I didn't have a lot to go on except what I saw in these women, and I just trusted that.
Wow, thank you. Um, and this is probably going to be a hard question to answer, but if there was just one message that you could convey to a survivor, what would you say that is?
There's no shame in having experienced violence. That's the single thing, the hardest thing to alleviate among survivors, the single thing that kind of pulls them back. It's almost like some kind of an invisible force sucking them back down into the muck and the mire a lot of the time. And so that's been a lot of my work over the years, helping people deal with that shame, turn it around, find other ways to manage those things.
Perfect. Um, what would you say, probably also kind of a difficult question, but if someone in the community, well-meaning, of course, is helping, someone has disclosed to them that they're experiencing violence, what would you say is also an important message to convey to that helper?
Well, I want the helper to be safe in the situation as well. And so I would want them to make sure that they're not putting themselves and the client in risky situations or um, potentially violent things. So, don't meet at the client's house without telling somebody where you're going. Um, Always think of all the what ifs because unfortunately, as we know, those have happened. Um, and then with regard to the survivor, I guess the thing that I think if you could just do one thing, it would be to ask her um, what small thing might make her feel a little bit stronger. What could help a sense of strength grow from yesterday to today? And sometimes those are very tangible kinds of things, like someone will say, I need my own money or I need a place to live. Very sensible, tangible, practical things. Other times they're kind of idealistic. They're kind of, I need to be able to have a sense of peace in my spirit at night when I sleep. Or I need to um, have my favorite stuffed animal from the house that I can no longer get back into. So it's not always something that we would immediately think of as a practical need. But if it's something that's going to help that person feel more strength, then it's worth doing.
Thank you. Thank you for that too. One of the final questions, and we all know how important this is as caregivers, as people in the profession. Um, how would you rate the importance of self-care?
Well, it's vital. We have to take care of ourselves or we're hopeless at helping anybody else gain any strength. Um, so yeah, I think it's one of the things that is really crucial. And I think especially for people who are very close to the survivor, someone's sister or mom or best friend, I think it's really hard to take a step back sometimes and say, wait a minute, I've been with this person nonstop for 4 days trying to find an apartment. I need to take a day off. And that's hard to do because you know that there are things that she still needs you for. And I say she because that's my experience. Almost all of the clients I've worked with over the years have been women. I'm fully aware that there are men who are victims as well. There are trans people, all sorts of folks are survivors of violence. I just say that because that's where I'm coming from. That's my personal experience. Um, but I do think that the self care for the caregiver is crucial to know, these are signs for me that I've maybe spread myself too thin or I've been out there too long. Things like maybe a change in the way that you're sleeping or your patience, just kind of general irritability. If you notice yourself not wanting to talk to friends anymore or feeling kind of stuck in a rut, those are all pretty good signs that maybe you need to take some time for yourself to take care of yourself.
Also, thank you. So you are such an incredible resource for us in the Resource Center, for so many people that you've helped over the years. So I want to thank you. Thank you so much for your time, Marilyn. And just appreciate all of the work that you do.
Absolutely. Thank you.